Tonight we're going to study a part of an article Bill wrote in 1961 titled "This Matter of Honesty." This is a very, very fine article and a wonderful topic. Primarily we're going to be looking at those portions of this article where Bill talks about self-honesty and avoiding self-delusion. And how important that is very simple for us to determine, because remember what we hear, and Tom just read it a few minutes ago, that those who do not recover are people who cannot or will not completely give themselves to this simple program, usually men and women who are constitutionally incapable of being honest with themselves. So what we're really looking at is a question of self-honesty, and the opposite being self-delusion. And this business of self-honesty seems to be far more important than honesty with others, although that's important too. But if we don't have the ability, or if we're unwilling to be honest with self, we don't recover. So Bill wrote this article. It begins on page 299 in Language of the Heart. We're going to slip over to page 261. And Bill's been talking now about self-deception. And at the top of page 261, the first full paragraph. Now I have another AA friend, a good and gentle soul. He recently joined one of the great religious orders, one in which the friars spend many hours a day in contemplation. So my friend has plenty of time to take his inventory. The more he looks, the more unconscious self-deception he finds, and the more astonished he becomes at the elaborate and devious excuse-making machinery by which he had been justifying himself. He has already come to the conclusion that the prideful righteousness of good people may often be just as destructive as the glaring sins of those who are supposedly not so good. So he daily looks inward upon himself and then upward toward God, the better to discover just where he stands in this matter of honesty. Out of each of his meditations there always emerges one dead certainty. This is the fact that he still has a long way to go. And just how and when we tell the truth or keep silent can often reveal the difference between genuine integrity and none at all. Step 9 of A's program emphatically cautions us against misusing the truth when it states, "Make direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others," because it points up the fact that the truth can be used to injure as well as to heal. This valuable principle certainly has a wide-ranging application to the problem of developing integrity. In AA, for instance, we talk a great deal about each other. Provided our motives are thoroughly good, this is not in the least wrong. But damaging gossip is quite something else. Of course, this kind of scuttlebutt can be well grounded in fact, but no such abuse of the facts could ever be twisted into anything resembling integrity. It can't be maintained that this sort of superficial honesty is good for anyone. So the need to examine ourselves is very much with us. Following a gossip binge, we can well ask ourselves these questions. Why did we say what we did? Were we only trying to be helpful and informative? Or were we not trying to feel superior by confessing the other fellow's sins? Or because of fear and dislike, were we not really aiming to damage him? This would be an honest attempt to examine ourselves rather than the other fellow. Here we see the difference between the use of truth and its misuse. Right here we begin to regain the integrity we had lost. Let's go to page 263. We'll kind of follow through on this thought. 263. First full paragraph. There are nevertheless certain occasions when reckless truth-telling may create widespread havoc and permanent damage to others. Whenever this seems possible, we're likely to find ourselves in a bad jam indeed. We shall be torn between two temptations. When conscience agonizes us enough, we may well cast all prudence and love to the winds. We may try to buy our freedom by telling the brutal truth, no matter who gets hurt or how much. But this is not the usual temptation. It's far more probable that we shall veer to the other extreme. We'll paint for ourselves the most unrealistic picture of the awful damage we're about to inflict on others. By claiming great compassion and love for our supposed victims, we're getting set to tell the big lie, and be thoroughly comfortable about it too. When life presents us with racking conflict like this, we cannot be altogether blamed if we're confused. In fact, our very first responsibility is to admit that we are confused. We may have to confess that for the time being we've lost all ability to tell right from wrong. Most difficult, too, will be the admission that we cannot be certain of receiving God's guidance because our prayers are so cluttered with wishful thinking. Surely this is the point at which we must seek the counsel of our finest friends. There is nowhere else to go. And let's go down to page 264. Talking about those from whom we seek guidance and help. And this is really important stuff. The top of page 264. Of course, we cannot wholly rely on friends to solve all our difficulties. A good advisor will never do all his thinking for us. He knows that each final choice must be ours. He will therefore help to eliminate fear, expediency, and self-deception, so enabling us to make choices which are loving, wise, and honest. The choice of such a friend is an all-important matter. We should look for a person of deep understanding and then carefully listen to what he has to say. In addition, we must be positive that our prospective advisor will hold our communications in strictest confidence. Should he be a clergyman, a doctor, or lawyer, this can be taken for granted. But when we consult an AA friend, we should not be reluctant to remind him of our need for full privacy. Intimate communication is normally so free and easy among us that an AA advisor may sometimes forget when we expect him to remain silent. The protective sanctity of the most healing of human relations ought never be violated. Amen to that. Such privileged communications have priceless advantages. We find them in the perfect opportunity to be as honest as we know how to be. We do not have to think of the possibility of damage to other people, nor need we fear ridicule or condemnation. Here, too, we have the best possible chance of spotting self-deception. If we're fooling ourselves, a competent advisor can see this quickly. As he guides us out of our fantasies, we are surprised to find that we have few of the usual urges to defend ourselves against unpleasant truths. In no other way can fear, pride, and ignorance be so readily melted. After a time, we realize that we're standing firm on a brand new foundation for integrity. Last paragraph. How truth makes us free is something that we AAs can well understand. It cuts the shackles that once bound us to alcohol. It continues to release us from conflicts and miseries beyond reckoning. It banishes fear and isolation. The unity of our fellowship, the love we cherish for each other, the esteem in which the world holds us, all of these are products of such integrity as under God we have been privileged to achieve. May we therefore quicken our search for still more genuine honesty and deepen its practice in all of our affairs. I have to say that there's one saying that I've always loved and I still and I believe it absolutely, that if I can say about you that you have integrity, I don't have to say anything else. If I must say about you that you have no integrity, I don't have to say anything else. We will, from that one word, we will know you. And so this question of honesty in AA boils down to integrity, to doing and to saying and being the right thing at all times. This is where we share with each other, and in this meeting we don't have any rules. You share when the Spirit moves you, share as often as you want or as long as you want. And we like to stick to the subject pretty much if we can. So let's talk about this business of self-honesty and integrity. And who would like to share with us their own experience? Yes, ma'am.
Hi. I'm Kristen. Great to work with an alcoholic.
Hey, Chris.
And this time around, self-honesty. I'm being real honest with myself. I guess I'm really keeping my mind open. And every meeting that I go to, I really listen to what they're saying. Whereas before, I was just at the meeting and I was just there. You know, and I didn't really think that anything really applied to me, and I didn't have that kind of problem. I didn't have. But now, you know, this time I really want to be clean and sober. I really want to stay clean and sober. And I know that the only way that I'm going to do that is if I thoroughly work those steps, the 12 steps. And this time I'm really working the steps. And I just did one yesterday with my sponsor. She told me how to read a book. You know, the first 164 pages. It took me almost 2 months to do that, but you know, I did it. She said I couldn't do my first step until I did it. You know, even though I did do my first step, and I know I'm powerless, and my life was definitely on that. And I know that I can't relieve my alcoholism, and that only a power greater than myself can. And turning my will and my life over to care of God, which is number 3, well, that's a daily thing for me that I do every morning. But now, you know, even though she told me there's really no writing on those steps, that they're more like acts and making a commitment or kind of a deal. But now I have to do my 4th step. And I guess I never did a step because I was really afraid. I don't know, really don't know how to do it, quite frankly. But I come into these meetings, I didn't think I had any resentment. And some lady shared one day in a meeting, and I'm saying, wow, I'm 1,250 miles away from my parents just to know they could tell me what to do. So I think I didn't have any resentment there. Might that just be something I have to look at? Then I mean, every time I come to a meeting, there's something that I think. Could this be you? And then I go to anger management group too. Now my friend says, I don't see how you could possibly, I just don't understand how you come in here to go to those meetings. Well, I gotta be honest, so let's be honest, I must have been angry at somebody or something, so, you know, I just glass house or something that I have to do. But quite frankly, you know, they gave us this homework and they said, check off if you've ever had any of these things happen to you, or if you've seen anybody do any of these things to you. And you know, I had to be really honest with myself. I could have just checked a few off, but I checked every one of them off. And on the next page, I checked every one of them off. Because at one time or another in my life, I had done that. Or the person that I was with had done that. And at the end of the page, I wrote, you know, I really had to be honest when I did this, because I'm not going to be able to help myself when I said, yeah. So I guess now I really have to be rigorously honest with everything I do, with my self-honesty.
Yep.
Because I don't think that, if I'm not honest with myself, I'm not going to get the help that I need.
Yep.
You know? And for me, it's working. It's working.
Good.
Slowly.
Well, of course, the 4th step requires of us that we be scrupulously self-honest, doesn't it? And that's why so many people don't make it in here, because this is not a program for sissies. You have to have enough courage to face yourself. And we do that in that 4th step. So you have the right idea, just go ahead and do it, and you'll be just fine.
But now in my life, but I'm definitely being on that. Because I don't want to end up, when I was out there this last time, I seen this friend of mine, she was 50 years old and she's getting high and doing, not that I wasn't doing the same thing. I'm thinking to myself, do I want to be 50? I'm 45 now. Do I want in another 5 years to be 50 years old doing the same old thing? You know, and by the grace of God,
Yeah.
I won't be.
Okay. Thank you very much. Who's next now? Yes, sir.
Hi, Michelle.
Yes, Sarah.
For me, at the very beginning, when it's so basic, like I heard someone say, you know what I mean, it's not yours, don't take it, it's not true, don't say it, it's not right, don't do it. And so that was like early on, and everything I did, I would like repeat that to myself, like from pushing the price tag in the store to go opening newspapers, you know, and taking 2 and then closing and putting our money back in because I realized that I should have remember, you know, I had to say that to myself over and over again. And then, and it was really interesting, so like honesty was like one of the first like major lessons that I really learned. And I remember I went to treatment and there was like a rule like not to talk to men and stuff. And I was always afraid, and if I asked, they would say no. So I would always ask and they would say yes, and then like this one time I was afraid they would say no, and I was like breaking this rule a lot. And they couldn't understand why I was so happy in treatment because like I would like go and take the garbage out and my boyfriend would like drive by the van and I would be riding my bike to work and he didn't like that I would drive my bike so far, so he would like pick me up and drive me to work in the van and it was like I was doing it and not being honest. And then it was really weird because his roommate had said something to the counselor, and so she knew about one time. And when I told her that in group that I would be honest and I would I'll tell everything. And I went to the group and I told everything except for the one she knew. So they freaked out because she knew about one thing and I was telling all these other things. And then the most important lesson that I learned, and it was really good that I learned it early on in sobriety, is that like it's really important for me to be honest, but at the same time, sometimes there's consequences even for being honest. That it's still important to be honest, and that it doesn't mean just because I was honest that there's going to be a consequence. And so that really shaped my ability to like have integrity, because I could be honest and I could accept the consequence and I could go on doing what I need to do and just learn the lesson and accept the consequence and know that I was honest and just feel good about that. So it's really a powerful lesson to learn, and I'm so grateful that I learned it so early on, because I think it helps me a lot along the way from very early on in recovery.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Who's next? Yep.
My name's Gary, and I'm an alcoholic.
Hey, Gary.
And I really have no problem being honest with other people. My problem is being honest with myself. I have something going on. It's like I don't share it. I just bag it up and keep it inside. But 10 days ago, something happened to me, and it was a spiritual thing. Because a friend of mine brought me a natural ice. I was going through the DTs, had shakes and all that. And so he figured he'd do me a favor and give me a natural ice. Well, I usually take it back to the Mexican store, but the cops won't bother me, and I shoot it, that'll calm me down again. But I took it out, I snapped the cover, and I was going to drink it, but instead I dumped it out, and I came here, and I haven't left here in like 10 days. Been right here, done 28 meetings in like 10 days, But I had a situation that went on today here with somebody who's been sober probably 10 years, and he was really in the wrong, and it really bothered me. And I talked about it after everybody left the meeting. I talked about it with somebody, and it made me feel a little bit better, but it still bothered me. And tonight, the guy asked me if I wanted to go out and shoot pool, and that's something I never did either. When I was asked to go out with the guys, I never went. I was always isolated. But I think God had me go out just so I could talk about this situation with these two guys that asked me out that I knew very well. And as I was talking about it, I couldn't even shoot pool anymore, so I was like shaking, you know, for some reason. Because I think that I actually exposed myself, you know, for that first time. But it felt good because when I left, it was like, okay, this situation is over. You know what I'm saying? And these guys want to get together and figure this thing out, we can. And if they don't, then it's on them, you know. But I can be honest enough to tell my side and admit my fault to that situation, you know. But something happened spiritually 10 days ago, and it's so weird, you know, because in 10 short days, my life has changed dramatically, you know, and it's really unexplainable except that it was God and my willingness to actually get on my knees that morning and ask God to take me out of this situation. And now these promises already in 10 days have already started working. You know, I picked up a nice job today, you know, paying good money, you know, I'm getting into a halfway house, you know, and all these things are really just dropping into my lap. Because I've been praying that, God, not my will, but yours, because my will sucks. My will does not know, you know, what I need, but God does. I pray His will, and then He will supply all the needs. I've been here for, like I said, but for 9 days. I got paid today, but in 9 days, I never went without a meal or a cigarette, because people in these rooms, I never had to ask for nothing either, but people in these rooms saw something in me. You know, they saw that an honesty or a willingness or whatever, but they took care of me. You know, and to me that was so amazing, because now I am able to let them people in to me, you know, and I'm able to expose myself to them, because I've learned that the more I expose myself, that it just lightens that load, you know. And when I got out of work today and I come straight here, that's where they dropped me off, because there's a meeting coming up, and people were freaking out because I was smiling, you know, and I didn't even realize it, you know, I was just smiling. People coming up to me and hugging me, and, you know, it was just cool how people in this program reached out to me. Thank you for letting me share.
Oh, thanks, Gary. That's nice. Who's next, please? Nilu.
Hi, my name's Neil.
I knew it.
Thank you for your topic, and I'm struggling with this. I feel like I can be truthful to myself. Now I'm getting better, actually. Having done a full step. And the part that I kind of struggle with is being truthful when there's peer pressure, or having integrity when there's peer pressure not to have integrity, behaving ways that I know are wrong. And I did that in the past when I was drinking. You know, yes, that caused some trouble, yes. And I could get drunk and cause some trouble. I could drink away my morals and my values. I could drink away my integrity. Get into relationships for all the wrong reasons. But I was drunk, so I could do it. Because I need to feed my ego. Because my ego tells me I'm not good enough, so I need to fix me. So I can feel good enough. And recently, you know, I guess this is quite intimate, but I need to share it because it makes me want to drink. There's, you know, I called this woman and she started hitting on me on the phone. She'd given me her number and to say, call me. And I had to tell her. I had to tell her that I am not gay. And she was very mean. She was pretty nasty, and she, I guess, felt rejected or whatever, and whatever her issues were, I'm not going to second guess what they are. But, you know, she retaliated. And then but that's my truth. And it's almost like today I have to be ashamed because I say I'm straight. You know, and I was thinking about this whole gay pride, and I pride, you know. I'm going to get a shirt that says straight pride on it. Outside. I mean, this is how she's making me feel. Like as if I had said something horrible. I wasn't making a judgment about her being gay. I just am not. you know, and I just needed to talk to her about something. I needed to have her start hitting her because it was uncomfortable. And in the same way, a situation happened with a guy, and this is inside the room, and you know, this guy wanted me to be part of his harem or whatever. I am monogamous. You know, and I know this stuff because I've done the full step. And this program teaches me to find out who I am, what is my authentic, genuine self. And I'm monogamous. I don't need to be in a one-step situation. And again, that's not a judgment for anybody else, it's just me. If other people find joy and happiness in that, that's absolutely fine. But I can't be part of that today. It can be sober. And, you know, people have, there's been, and it kind of gets me, because then what I'd really like to do is tell them off and you know, for retaliating against me or judging me and putting together pressure. I mean, literally it was a situation where there was, you know, I was in a women's meeting and these women were just, they brought like their whole gang to just, you know, and were intimidating me and were pressurizing me to, you know, what I felt was just basically ganging up and trying to get me to conform. I'm here to conform to God's will. I'm not here to conform to the sickness in the room. And it takes a lot of strength and a lot of courage to sit here and say, yeah, I was sick, but I've changed. And you're still sick, and I'm not here to take on your disease. You don't have any power over me anymore. And I don't have to drink. But I've been doing that, you know, it's starting to get to me, and I need to share it just to make sure that I'm okay, and because that's my truth. And the other thing I found is the voice, that I have a voice now, you know, because that's how I used to be victimized, bullying, ganging up, because I was a strong person, and the people would ask me, it's online, you know, look at me. But today, instead of raging and stuff like that, I just have to have a voice, and that voice has to be able to communicate my truth in a slick way. What Jim talks about in soft loving and considerate way. And I like that. And I like having a voice, because I just have my voice now. It feels good.
Thank you, Neva.
Yeah, related to what she was saying, I mean, everyone I know, they didn't have any resentments when they first came into the rooms. And I was thinking about the honesty. I remember in treatment centers, I would lie so much in treatment centers, just so they wouldn't keep me in the treatment center any longer, because I noticed the more honest you were, the more help they felt that you needed, and I wasn't done yet, so, you know, I bullshit all the way through, but it's interesting how when you finally work these steps, honesty becomes a way of life, and how before I worked these steps, how dishonesty was a way of life, completely, not only to others, but to myself. And I was so sick with it, I would want to convince myself of it so I seem more real telling you about it. So where I had this whole web of deception within myself and to others, and you know. And when I finally did the inventory, you know, real four-step inventory, it was just amazing to me how much fear was there. How I had a fear of telling the truth. I had a fear of telling the truth and being judged, and on and on and on, and just how cool it is today, you know, how she says to have a voice, be yourself, you know, I mean, not worry about, I need to put on a front to be accepted by this person. Like, I could just be me, take it or leave it, you know what I mean? And how usually when you're real with people, I guess if you have some integrity, how the relationship usually ends up working out better anyhow, whether it's, you know, your boy or if it's some girl you get next to, so to speak, and but the self-honesty too, because, you know, you know, I really don't know anything about being humble or humility, but I guess I would say it was humbling to tell somebody, you know, the web of lies and how I would lie to myself, and how and how much shame there was admitting the lies and admitting the fears and the defects, and just how relieved I am now for all that to be behind me. And I can just kind of chip away as anything pops up today. But one thing I don't lie to myself about is the one more. I was talking to someone out front after the meeting. He was telling me about how he was in and out. And finally, he's been working the steps and how everything's changed. And he and I had similar stories in talking. And for me, with the first step, I don't know how it happened. I really have no clue, because I always wanted one more than I wanted to try to do the steps. And I always looked at the steps as homework. So I would be like, I'm not doing the steps. I'm not here to do homework. I'm here to drink coffee, look at her, and maybe bullshit him a little bit. I mean, that was my attitude for a long time. And until I got to that point where I really within myself knew I was full of shit, knew I really had a problem, and for some reason that want to do more than maybe dive into this a little bit wasn't there. I don't know if I articulated that right, but. And then I started diving into myself. It was just amazing to me. For a long time I didn't understand what people meant about the drugs or the drink was a small part of the bigger picture. I used to be like, you're an idiot. That's the whole picture. I'm not the problem. Heroin is the problem. So that's cool. You know what I mean? But I was just a scared little kid, gripped with fear. And I heard you say it one time. How it's not a principle, it's a way of life, and I found that to be true. And it's such an easier way of life than trying to think of, the story I told her, and wait a minute, she told him, and now they're coming back to me, and am I remembering it correctly? You know what I mean? And then within myself too, so I could be free, because I know when I was out there, my world was this small, and I also noticed in the program, in AA, not doing this stuff or not understanding it right, how my world was equally as small. And this whole self-honesty, this whole process of the steps, which is a must. I don't, sometimes I can't even believe it's real. Going from being homeless on the streets in North Philadelphia to being in Florida and not having the walls closed down, man. I want to see a bigger picture. Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you, Jeff. Who's next? Charlie.
I'm an alcoholic. My name is Charlie.
Charlie.
Yeah, this is something, I guess I really need to continue to work on, because, lately it's like a part of me feels like a more honest I really am. I guess this is the old alcoholic, Charlie. But today I feel sometimes I get caught up in that feeling that the more honest I really am, the more alone I feel sometimes, the more dirty I feel. It's kind of embarrassing to talk about here. I'm just knowing that as I really look deep at my motives, sometimes I get resentful of my own self. I just started sponsoring someone, and this person came to me and said, well, is it applicable to have resentment against yourself? And I go, I don't know. But sometimes I really don't always like the picture that I have of myself when I'm really honest. But the integrity part, is I know that for the first time in my life, I'm walking a clean slate, or willing to walk a clean slate, and that has paid me rewards. But God does it on His time, not my time. Because I'm still that little brat that wants, okay, I do something good, now I want something for that right now, and I want to get paid right back. It doesn't always work that way, and as I look, I see, well, gee, sometimes my motives for even doing the right thing I don't always feel clean on. But I don't know. The last thing I want to share is, working with this other person has really been helping me, because as I watch this person tell me things about himself and trust me, it's really helped my self-esteem a little bit, because over the last couple of months I haven't felt very good about myself for whatever reason. And watching this person, you know, talk about the truth for him has really helped me feel more motivated to keep looking at myself, because I do not want to be one of those people that doesn't do what I say. You know, that's the worst feeling, I think, regarding lack of integrity I'll ever want to feel, is to be derived from alcohol and have someone come up and, you know, trust me with the program and, you know, start talking about stuff I read in here and not be doing a damn thing. You know, that's the worst feeling. And thanks for letting me kind of share.
Yeah, thank you, Charlie.
Thanks for sharing, Charlie.
Who's next now? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Stan. I'm an alcoholic.
Thanks.
Well, it's amazing too, as I've been going through my short stuff too. Not amazing. It's been excruciatingly painful recently, to put it bluntly, about what a master of self-deception I am. And I know I'm not alone. I've always known this, but to the depths, like we were just reading there, you know, just how far. I forget the exact words. He said the elaborate schemes of excuses and the systems that I would make. And it is part of my disease. I don't blame it on that. It's part of me, who I was, to get away with what I wanted to do. And now I'm paying the consequences for that. You know, I spent 8, 9 years out there doing what I did, learning that it had a lot of consequences. And actually, they're small compared to a lot of people up here. I'm alive, not in jail. But, you know, the emotional baggage and the money that was spent, the things I got to do, and all this stuff is on me now. And I have to do it. You know, but in order to stay sober, I got to go through that. And it's been really painful and very difficult not to fall into that trap and just sit there and self-pity, and I've been this way my whole life, I'll never change, yada, yada, yada. And there's some of that. I keep praying, I keep pushing forward, and it's easing up. And each day that I don't pick up over that stuff, because that's the stuff that would drive me right back out, like Jim said earlier. When you really hit that wall, it's for me anyway, where it gets that down deep gut level honesty. And I can't blow this, just for me, I can't blow this all off on I got a disease. You know, it's not bringing alcohol, I didn't walk outside without an umbrella. You know, I did a lot of this stuff. Yeah, there's factors and how I was raised and all this, but ultimately it's on me. I've been a big boy for a long time. And when I start realizing this, and God loves me in spite of that, and He wants to help me to change. I mean, sometimes I get moved to tears, and other times, like this man Charlie was saying, I'm almost disgusted. You know, if you get resent yourself, hate yourself, loathing, all those things. But you have to get up a little bit, and for me, you know, I used to have a poster a long time ago. Should have paid more attention to it. It was a nice picture, and it said, the only way out is through. The only way I'm ever going to get out of feeling this way now is to go through it. You know, through them steps. And I got an awful lot to learn, because my mind just naturally, the BS is just there. I was sober last time for 12 years. I used to say I was a gifted salesman. People used to call me great. I used to call myself a bullshit alchemist. You could call that a good word, you know. Take lead, make it into gold, you know, just by talking. And that's, some of that is talent, some of that is a gift. But when you turn it into self-deception and my disease, oh, it smells. Really like what Andrew was saying, too, you know, but little bit by little bit, I'll get some of my integrity back. Because that's what makes me feel good. That's what God wants me to do. I don't need to kiss anybody's butt to stay sober. I can let my hair down, or I don't have any anymore. Not hair a lot, but you know, I can open up in here, and I trust people in these rooms and that kind of thing to that degree. But I lost my train of thought with that. But you know, I can open up in here and realize that, you know, hey, I'm not alone. There's a lot of us here like that. You know, and it's the only way that God can get inside and heal me. I just block them out. I've done it most of my life in a lot of ways. Even in my other rounds of dying, how I was, it became more and more clear to me. And it's, like I said, it's overwhelming sometimes, but it's also, it's the way it has to be. And just a quick little thing, I was out fishing yesterday. I was standing there by the dock and Captain swimming the fish and stuff. There was this guy trying to catch some tarpon, and everybody's talking fishing, and you know, talking BS. And I was just spacing out, watching the captain clean fish or something, because I get tired listening to the other guy talking. other guy said something to me, and I just turned to him and said, oh, I said, I don't know, I wasn't paying attention, I was spacing out, so. And he looked at me, his eyes got wide, he says, geez, at least you're honest. Everybody else would say, yeah, I know what you mean, something like that, like you meet somebody, you don't know their name, and say, oh yeah, I remember you. And it's just in such counterpoint to sitting here at this meeting. And it brings, to the forefront to me, that was a nothing event, but just how our egos are always there. Not only our egos in this program, but outside, because what's the flip side of that? Which you got to pay attention to all things at all times, to all conversations. I want to pay attention, who cares? Because there's nothing to say. But just automatically, it ain't just us. Everybody else out there do the BS right away. They're not saying, oh sure, I was listening to him, this and that. So just, who cares? And that was over nothing. You can imagine something. So I don't know. So I was just thinking about that sitting in this meeting again. But it's good. I'm glad I said those kind of actions, because that makes me feel good. Like everybody else said, I can't take all that. It's way easier to tell the truth than to lie. In these kind of situations. I don't mean what hurt people telling the truth, but just I'm way tired of it. I'm getting too old. If I'm ever going to get through it, I can't waste my mind on all deception and half truths and all this stuff. I got to keep learning what God's will for me and try to play it straight. As you can tell, I didn't mean to run on here, but my plate's kind of full, but hey, God's brought me this far, I don't think He's going to drop me now. That's all. Thanks.
Good, thanks, Dan. Okay, we're going to have to call it an evening. Anybody has an irresistible impulse, otherwise known as a burning desire?
I would like to say something, Jim.
Please. I was hoping you would.
I'm an alcoholic. And my name is Noreen.
Noreen?
And when I arrived here, I was really, I really was in bad shape. And I couldn't deviate truths from false. I really couldn't. And then coming to Alcoholics Anonymous, it showed me really what self-honesty was all about. Not this cash register honesty which they throw around the room all the time. And there came a time in my sobriety that I really had to look at Noreen and to see where I had been dishonest with me. And it took time. It took time. And thank God I had a very patient sponsor. I had a man as my sponsor. But obviously that's what I needed at the present time. And little by little, well, I'll give you one example. I used to like the men. I still like men. So I was married when I came in here. But I also had a boyfriend on the side who was my enabler because it cost a lot of money to drink. And I was high maintenance, even then. And so, we can manipulate and lie and cheat, all those good things. So then I come in here. And one day, then all of a sudden there was a man in AA. There were a couple of them. And one was a professor of embalming there at Day Junior College. And the other one was Gene. So here I had a husband, I had a boyfriend on the side, Gene Severs, and this bud, who was also a minister. And so, an Episcopal priest he was. So what should happen, but Ed called me one day. He said, what are you doing? And I said, oh, I'm just fussing around here. He said, well, I think that we need to have a little talk. So I went down to this game room, and it was a table like this, and he sat on one side, and I sat on another side. And he says, Noreen, the games you're playing, they're not going to continue to work. They're not going to work. And so, of course, I was younger then, and I blinked my eyes, and I said, well, I'm not doing anything. I'm not. And I couldn't look at him, I couldn't have that eye contact with him. And he says, you're not going to stay sober. You cannot continue playing these games. So I listened to him. So I divorced my husband.
Mm-hmm.
My friend, who was my, gigolo, I met him for lunch, and I said to him, I am not going to be able to stay sober continuing seeing you, because this is very unhealthy for me. And you're a married man, and I'm a married woman. And he said to me, but we can work things out. So I said, oh no, because I won't be able to stay sober. And say, I used to be a nice girl, but as my disease progressed, I got mean, I got nasty. So he was a lot older than I. So I said, and another thing, you do have a wife, and I'm like an ornament on your arm, and I'm going to get older, and then you'll just get another one. So that one, but right up until the time of his death, he did, he would call me from time to time to make sure I was all right, my girls were all right. Then I said to myself, all right, now I'll get rid of this bud. All I could think of him handling dead bodies, and I thought, they're kind of creepy. And I ended up marrying Gene Sears, who had been in the program. He was in the program 10 years. But you see, I had to get honest with myself. I had to stop playing those games. I had to stop playing those games. I've learned so much in this program. I have learned so much. I've learned so much about Noreen. And the one thing I think about with that fourth step, and when it was ready for me to go and take my fifth step, Ed did not want to hear my fifth step. He just didn't want to hear the fifth step. He says, I'm going to send you, I'll make arrangements, and I'm going to send you to Hollywood. And there was a woman by the name of Lenore Tate. She belonged to the Hollywood group, and she was a tough cookie. I went up there and took this step with her. Never saw the woman after that. I think I saw her at a couple of functions they had at Miami Springs. But that was all right too. And I have noticed in my sobriety with different women I've worked with, if I have gotten a little emotionally involved with them, especially if there are children involved, I don't know, maybe it's my generation I come from. I don't want to hear about abortions. And a lot of women that come in, especially today, they've used abortion as a form of birth control. And it kind of makes me a little funny inside, because that's a personal decision anyway. But I don't want to hear about things like that. And so now when I have worked with different people in the last, say, 10 years, I would make arrangements. There used to be a black woman down at St. Francis, is it down there? Aurelia. She's a black woman. But she was really good when it came to fifth step. Mm-hmm. And I would bring a sponsee down there, and And I would wait outside, and she would talk to me. And then they'd come out and they say, boy, we thought you were rough nor rained. But, you know, I know what honesty is today. And then you pointed out when you were talking, speaking and reading from the book there, that we have to be very cautious with our mouths in here.
Mm-hmm.
Because most alcoholics have a tongue like a knife. And I've seen a lot of people get hurt by malicious gossip.
Yep.
I mean malicious gossip. You know, we come in here and we don't have too much confidence, we don't have too much self-worth, we think less than. We sure don't have to come in the rooms of AA for someone to sit in judgment of us or to say dirty, rotten things behind our back. I think it's horrible. Horrible. And also, when it says to injure them or others, this is very important. Because sometimes a person can be brutally honest, and to save their own hide, they're hurting someone very, very deeply. Very deeply, and we have to be very, very, very careful of that. Because I know I am guilty of being brutally honest, and I have to be careful of that. Myself. I'm talking about myself now. Of course, I work, and I'm dealing with all kinds of people at work, and I have to be very careful with my mouth. Because I can be brutally honest and call it the way it is. And you have to be tactful. Mm. Otherwise, then they're against you. So you have to kind of straddle that fence, that fine line. And I found out also that this disease of alcoholism, the alcohol is only a symptom. Only a symptom. And unfortunately, we do get all kinds of people that come through these doors, and not all of them are alcoholics.
Right.
And unfortunately, there are lesbians and there are homosexuals that come in these rooms. Used to Case Miami all the time. The Biscayne room, especially the clubs, you'll find that. And you have to, you know, have your integrity. And if somebody tries to hit on you, say, I'm sorry, take the high road. Not interested. Not interested. And of course, if you have a sponsor, usually a sponsor used to check those things real quick. If someone were coming to the room that shouldn't really be there, and I'm not talking about, you know, I believe you should be inclusive, not exclusive. But that's what a sponsor is good for, because you have that protection there. Sorry I ran over, but there's just different things that bother me in AA today when I hear this slander and the talk and to tear another person down. I think it's awful. It's terrible. I don't think it has any place. I really do not believe it has any place in these rooms. But unfortunately, you know, some are sicker than others, and we have to look at them as sick people. And in time, they weed themselves out. In time. So it's good to be sober. It's good to be a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I'm pretty honest today with Noreen. I don't play the games. I don't play the games I used to when I got here. Oh, different times, you know, the dragon showed itself, but I've got a pretty good foundation in this program. And for this I am grateful for. Not happy I'm an alcoholic. I'm really not happy I'm an alcoholic. But I have the disease, and it took me a long time to accept the fact that I had the disease. So that was a big step in honesty, wasn't it, when I finally not only admitted, but accepted. Yes, Noreen, you're an alcoholic. You'll be an alcoholic till the day they plant you over in the cemetery. And what a freedom that is, to know what's wrong with me, this disease that I have. And thank God for people like Jim. He's such a student, you know, of this program, especially the big book and obviously language of the heart, and you can learn much from him. So you should really avail yourself, because there are not many students or teachers of the big book today. I had one when I moved up from Miami. His name was Wesley Parrish. And I can break, you know, his anonymity because he's dead. He's over the cemetery. And I learned so much from this man because he was a student of this big book. Because my sponsor was not a big book man. So, I'm glad I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you, Noreen. Okay, guys, let's close the meeting. Represent the unity of our fellowship. A moment of silence for those who are still suffering, and we'll say the Lord's Prayer together. Please remember, we don't say anything after we say Amen. Thank you. Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you for being here.
My pleasure, my dear.